You are looking at pictures of a whirlpool off the northern coast of Japan being formed right now. We want to talk to Dr. Michio Kaku about that. But first, Elizabeth, as we feared, this death toll of a devastating earthquake is rising in Japan.
We knew it would. We are now hearing reports from police in Japan that there are 200 to 300 bodies floating offshore of northeastern Japan where the quake was centered. And in addition, we have reports obviously of a ship with 100 people that was swept away in the tsunami wave. Reports within the city of Tokyo and further north of possibly 60 deaths. So we're talking now a death count in the several hundreds as these reports come in. And in addition, George, we're hearing reports this morning there's been an evacuation of thousands of people near a nuclear plant. Japanese officials say the coolant system isn't working correctly. They say there is no leak. Our own Martha Raddatz is reporting that her sources are telling her Japanese officials are very concerned about this. They are presenting a calm face to the public, but they are very concerned about this.
That's right. They've issued a state of emergency in Japan, but they say that's just for precautionary reasons. But as you say, U.S. officials are telling Martha Raddatz that they are very concerned about this right now. Let's go back to those pictures of the whirlpool right now. Dr. Michio Kaku
and that's giant.
It is a giant whirlpool we're seeing off the coast of Japan. What exactly are we looking at? What is a whirlpool?
Well, you realize that when you have a sudden uplift of the Earth's crust, the uplift could be hundreds of miles long, creating not just one wave, but several waves that, first of all, can collide. And when waves collide, they form what are called eddy currents, or whirlpools. Second of all, you have this crack in the Earth's crust itself. Water could descend into it like a drain, also causing a whirlpool or an eddy current. So you have to realize the size of this thing. This is not a pinpoint. This is a rupture in the crust of the Earth, hundreds of miles long, creating this gigantic wall of water.
And anything near that vortex is in great danger.
Could be sucked in, right? If you're a cruise ship, this is something you have to really watch out for, because this is beyond your control now.
How often does this happen after an earthquake?
These things do happen because of the fact that it's not just one wall of water. There's several walls of water. They collide. You have cracks in the Earth's crust. This is not a clean fissure in an earthquake.
And how long will this last?
Oh, this could last for hours. It depends.
Really?
Yeah.
This could last for hours, and you've been telling us all morning that we should expect that aftershocks could continue for hours and days. As you said earlier, this is one of the worst earthquakes ever. One of the strongest earthquakes ever in the world, and clearly the strongest in Japan.
Right. You have to go back to 1898 for even a similar earthquake, a smaller one. 30,000 people died in that tsunami back in 1898 in Japan.
But the Japanese do know how to prepare for earthquakes.
They've learned their lesson. In 1923, Tokyo was flattened by the Kanto earthquake, just like San Francisco was flattened in 1906. Building codes are the most stringent in the world in Japan. But even then, in the Kobe earthquake in the last decade and a half, we had thousands of people die. So in a situation, even when we have building codes that are highly enforced, you still get deaths.
We're getting a report now that there's a passenger train just on the coast of Japan that has been reported missing. It was in the part of Japan where the tsunami hit. Obviously, this would increase the death toll dramatically. We don't know how many people were on board, but a tsunami that size, creating the images that we've seen, could easily sweep away an entire train.
That's right, and the death toll is going to rise as the hours go by and as more reports come in from different parts of the country. Realize that communications are down. You can't use cell phones. I tried to call. You can't call Japan. Therefore, we don't really know what's happening in many isolated areas.
How many new preventive measures were taken just since the Indian Ocean earthquake in 2004 that might have made a difference here and might keep the death toll down?
Well, remember that in the 1960s in Hawaii, they set up one of the most advanced sonobuoy systems throughout the entire Pacific. Sensors that can register exactly how high the wave is as it comes by. And we put that information into a computer, a supercomputer, that allows us to project what happens when it hits Hilo, when it hits Honolulu, places like that. Since the 2004 earthquake in the Indian Ocean, people say to themselves, we have to take this very seriously. Another big one is bound to hit.
And it has.
We're just about out of time, but I want to ask you a quick question. We saw that earthquake just a couple of weeks ago in New Zealand. Is there any way to know if that's connected to what's happening in Japan?
They're both on the Ring of Fire, this earthquake-prone zone?
It's hard to tell, but we have this ring of fire going from the Philippines through Japan to Alaska to Chile. We think that what happens in one sector of the ring does not affect other sectors of the ring. But it's hard to say. You know, it's black magic trying to predict the course of earthquakes.
Not physics. Okay, Chukaku, thanks very much.